Good morning, everyone. Brian here with BMK Retro Gaming. This morning my channel is proud to introduce a new video type which I hope you guys will enjoy. You see, I hadn't noticed it yet when I first got around to doing my my channel's I believe it was upcoming channel improvements video. You know, where I explain about my new setup and all, but anyway. My old LG Phoenix 5 smartphone a while back got a pretty bad cracked screen. Very bad. It still worked for a while, ironically enough. And I had to order this one. Now, I'm not sure if my first model, since it was, I think, between a year and two old, and this one had a bit of different things preloaded, or if it's just something I never noticed on it. But my camera on this one has a pause button for my video feed, which will allow me to pause the feed of the video without ending it. Opens up possibilities for new video types I haven't been able to do before, since I can literally pause the recording of a video and, you know, do things like reset up and everything if I need to. Excuse me. Anyway, in this case, I'm introducing the comparison contrast videos. This is kind of inspired by, well, let's see, particularly my friend Brian Puddin with his channel Brian's Man Cave happens to do a versus series where he will compare and contrast the one or more, if not all, that he has of the ports of a given game, ports or versions of a given game. Other preferred YouTubers I have, like Retro Sutra, or let me see, Retro Gaming Comparisons. As a matter of fact, there's one right there, do this type of thing, and I actually enjoy them, and had been thinking for a while, you know, this is one of the reasons why I got into YouTubing, and I'd been hoping to get around to the ability to do this video type after a while. So now, you know, after you guys, I'm not going to throw it into my rotation regular. It's just going to come up as it does. You know, it's going to be separate from the reviews, so you may see them basically whenever I get around to them. But particularly after I've gone through all the ports of a game I already own or can emulate, you should be looking for one of these. Anyway, first up we have the IntelliVision original library game, Frog Bog, which I reviewed yesterday, and its Atari VCS 2600 port by Mattel's M Network label, Frogs and Flies. I'll go ahead and put up Frog Bog first, since it technically was the first of the two. And then we'll go over Frogs and Flies. And, well, then we'll work it out afterwards. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. And we'll be down to it in quite shortly. Okay, so here we go with Frog Bog up first. Basically, pretty simple version of the game. I like it because it has both good graphics, although, like the Flies, they kind of remind you of, you could say fairly that they kind of look like anywhere between a cross between butterflies and dragonflies to who knows what. They're flying insects, but that's about the gist of it, I guess. And you can clearly tell with the graphical qualities that you are in a swamp. And the sound effects are very nice. No music, of course. The frogs both look pretty good. I mean, and it's got a nice paced gameplay. You go from sun up until twilight, about a 3-minute time limit, I think it is, in general. And again, it's not too hard to beat the tar out of the computer AI opponent if you really work at it. The graphical qualities may not be quite as good as some other IntelliVision games, but it definitely is a nice looking game, and gameplay is pretty decent. And again, it's a kind of a kid's game on one hand, and on the other, it's a fun one. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised this game was never made into an arcade cabinet. As well, with kids especially, I can see the simple, easy to get into gameplay and all. This would have been one which would have earned some quarters as an arcade cabinet. I mean, too, since you got like a 3-minute time limit, yeah. I can just picture a kid wanting to put another quarter in and try to get a higher score again, so. Okay, and so there's the twilight, which is the end of the game. Anyway, yes, I like the IntelliVision's Frog Bog pretty well. It's very nice. Clearly a very nice port of the... Well, this one's the original title. Came first, so it's clearly a very nice version of the game. Okay. Okay, so here we go with Frogs and Flies, the Atari VCS 2600 port. And it's pretty good also, I guess. As you can see, the graphics are not quite as cleaned up. A bit harder to identify you're in a swamp, but still very, still where you can tell that. And unlike in Frog Bog, the frogs, when they jump, don't have a more splayed out jump. They just jump more like, you know, they're making a big giant hop. With their legs kind of pushed out. Other than that, they seem a bit uncomfortably doing it. Or this might be a little bit closer to what a frog or toad might actually hop like to a degree. I don't know. Also, the scoring is a bit lower, and the sound quality is not quite on the same level as Frog Bog on the IntelliVision was, but it's not bad sounding. It's not bad looking either, so. And here, from what I can tell, the computer AI opponent seems to be a bit more active, generally speaking. Again, you have about 3 minutes from sunup until twilight to go ahead and try to get whatever you can in flies and thus a high score. To be honest with you guys, I'm not sure why exactly they changed up the scoring, because it's a lot lower scoring than on Frog Bog. Maybe just realized the scoring could work in increments of 2 as well as in increments of 10s. I don't know. Either way, Frogs and Flies is definitely a bit different, but it's still pretty much, the same game. One other thing I think, I remember I've seen pointed out, I think by my friend Brian Puddin, when he did this pretty much same versus video, this comparing and contrasting these two, is that the flies are more or less, they look a little more believable as flies, but they're more or less like two fluttering small square sprites put together. They're not really as detailed as on the IntelliVision with Frogbog. So it's an imperfect port of the game, of course, but this is all to be expected with the Atari VCS 2600. It could do these games, but at the same time, you weren't going to expect it to be standout spectacular. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like what my other new preferred YouTubers, John Briggs, will say, it gets the job done. Or it got the job done in the day. That's another interesting thing that I like a little bit about this one is you have one last fly pulling in the end, which is actually a pretty, that's a little bit of a different way to end it. And it's a nice touch. Anyway, there we go with that. Okay, so that was Frogbog and Frogs and Flies. Frogbog being the IntelliVision original title, and Frogs and Flies being its port to the Atari VCS 2600. Sorry, almost forgot about my backlighting. Okay. Here's one thing I do want to tell you guys. When I do these comparison contrast videos, I have a few reasons why I'm not, I repeat, am not going to tell you which, if either version of or port of a game I think is better. For one thing, in many of them, and especially this one, they're just not so different as for that to make a whole lot of sense. Sure, there are some things I like about one port over the other, and etc., but they're minor things. And also, I know that there are more than likely some members of my audience, whether in my wider audience or my subscribers directly, who may be pretty passionate fans of either version or port of a game, so giving my opinion could be straight up like that, could be like trying to walk through a minefield. I'd rather not start anything. I'd rather keep the peace. But those are the two reasons. So if there's a third reason, it's that you guys really are going to think what you're going to anyway. And I'd rather you make up your minds on which one you think is better, or what you think of either one or both of them put together either way for yourselves. That's the best way to do it. In fact, this is the way my friend and fellow YouTuber Brian Puddin typically does it. He doesn't usually weigh in on which port of the game or which version of the game he finds to be better. He lets his viewers decide. And I'm certainly not trying to rip off or copycat his work or anything. It's just how you would say inspiration for creating this type of video. Now, clearly, Frogbog, as I had been saying, this is what I will do with these videos, is I will point out the strengths and weaknesses of each game, as you heard me doing during the gameplay segment. And, well, Frogbog clearly has some advantages in terms of being, it's a bit graphically superior, with a bit clearer picture. You seem to get a bit more of a variety of flies and flying insects. And the The sounds are definitely a little bit more clear and concise and nicer. So it has those things going for it. While the Atari VCS 2600 port Frogs and Flies does have things going for it, like it certainly doesn't look or sound bad, by my measure anyway. And the action seemed like it played just a little bit smoother and faster. So I'm not going to say by very much. They were almost dead even on that. And it also had the nice little, the last fly pulling in the end to give you a definite knowledge that was the end of the game. So those were the nice points about it. Other than that, you guys decide for yourselves on it. And figure out which one you'd like best, if either. And, well, that'll about wrap up for that today, I guess. And my friend Brian Puddin with his channel, Brian's Man Cave, does have his own nice video, a versus video featuring these exact two comparison contrast versus of these exact two games. Matter of fact, if I hadn't just reviewed Frog Bog after having done Frogs and Flies first, I probably wouldn't have come up with this video yet. So it's a bit ironic that this is the one that I had come up first. I had to remember while looking things up and all for videos on it, to give recommendations and links to, that I'd actually watched that he had the video, and I rewatched it yesterday just for good measure. So anyway, and it's a very good video, I will admit. I will leave a link for you guys on that one so you can take a look into it. Anyway, if you guys enjoy my channel's content, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't hesitate to leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down below. Especially in this case, I would love to hear what you guys think of the two games, and if either one to y'all actually comes off as being the better one, or you personally have or used to and like better. Well, this would definitely be the place to express that in the comment section of this video. So anyway, you guys take care, have a good morning, and I will see you again in my next video.